It is 3:30, early hours of Sunday morning, and I have just woken up. And before I even go for my wee, I have got to try and get this story out of my head. I have just had the most intense dream of weirdness, but damn it, it'd make a movie. So I can't quite work out why things are going the way they go. There's some work to be done for sure. But the long and the short of it is the human race is, for whatever reason, coming to a grisly end. And we are dying off. But we're kind of unaware of what's happening. And we seem to have this filter over us. There's no sense of smell, because if there was, the sense of smell would tell us about the rotting and pestilence around us, and it would tell us about the bodies around us. We don't see that. But things start to change. We start to do strange things. And that means that we start to work out things are not as they seem to be. And the filter is, I have no idea how we're not tripping over dead bodies, because the reality of life is that there is bodies everywhere. And in some strange way, some of these bodies that are still alive, but I call them bodies because they are literally just falling apart, but still in a living body, like it's still holding on beyond any level that anybody could ever live on in. So there's some element, I don't know if it's what we've done to our food, I don't know, but it means that the bodies are almost rotting away, or they are rotting away before the bodies are rotting away. It's fading. It's really, I hate it, this about intense dreams. They start to fade. The bodies are rotting away. We're not seeing it. Our sense of taste, our sense of smell has gone. And we are continuing to live, but we know something's not right, so we're going in search of it. And the more we search, the more we realise what we're finding is beyond horrific and disgusting, and we start to realise the reality of the situation we're living in. And the filter means that we are eating and drinking things that we see with our eyes as being food, but in reality God knows what we're eating and drinking. And at one, but people are not completely dying. They're alive still, but beyond any ability to live. But a few pass completely, like they must get to a point where they go, in this dream we must reach a point, or there must be an additional factor that means that they do eventually die. And I suspect that what's happening is we're actually feasting on these bodies around us. It's a disgusting and horrific, harrowing movie that I'm playing in my head here. And at one point in that movie, like in this dream that I'm seeing, somebody who knew more allowed me to see very quickly for a brief moment and said, don't look for long, but took the veil down and said, just glance in that chair. And there was a friend, and they had become a liquefied mass on the seat of this chair, and it was a rotting, liquefied chair and everything around was just decimated and awful and rot. And I don't know how, but I know technology played a part in this. I don't know if it's VR that was allowing us to not see what was going on. I don't know. I wish I did. And in the end, we reached a point where we had worked out how to just stop living this fake life and to allow ourselves to die and just accept the fact the human race was going. And so we did. We just allowed ourselves to stop. And at one part, we wondered if there'd be a reset. If we all died, would there be a reset? But we didn't know what would happen when the veil was completely lifted and we were allowed to die. And myself in this dream allowed that situation to happen, took the veil off and just died, allowed that process to happen, not knowing if there was a reset. And then, or did I die? Do you know, I hate it when things start to fade. But I obviously didn't die. Whatever this technology was, allowed me to start afresh. And I remember walking through my village thinking, if I can find the village pub, and then I'll know where everything is, because it was different. It looked different. But I knew that's where I was. I was still in the place that I had that I had finished in. It looked different. And it looked wrong. The pub was on the wrong side of the road. And then these people came along and they were in olden time dress. And they took me back with them to their homes. And we're talking like proper pre-Tudor type buildings, thatched cottages, wooden structures, a whole civilization. The landscape looked completely different. There were hills where there shouldn't be hills. And I'm feeling like we've gone back in time. And the more I start talking to these girls, the more I realise we've not gone back in time at all. We've actually almost gone forwards in time. And they're talking about the fact that we're on cycles of life now and technology has been banned. And I realised that one person didn't pass. She didn't go through the process the rest of us went through, and she remembered what was going on, and she had I don't know how she repopulated. That's a good question, isn't it? Where did the people come from? But she didn't allow for technology to come into play, and she just made sure that we continued, like world continued at an old pre-technology level, but that everybody knew that technology was what did this to us. And then the more I looked around, I would notice, like they said, no, we're built on the remains of everything that was here before us. And you realise that they've built these houses and these structures, but that underneath the landscape has been completely taken back over by nature, and that's why it's different. The hills are mounds of old ruins, and it's like a world on top of a world that used to exist. I can't explain it. And it's just, this world looks to be completely technology free, and it's lots of countryside and these very old buildings and horses and carts and simple dress, but they know more than people of that time, and they know they can't develop technology because they will just recycle the process again. They will just get themselves into the same place as they got to before, and that can't happen. And this one person who must be hundreds of years old but doesn't look it, because I think at some point we were given something to drink and that preserved us. But I recognise when we get talking, and then I realise the closer you look, there are tractor tyres and there are oil drums and things that are sticking out of the ground where they've been buried and you know, then worn away, and they're being exposed again. And there's just little hints to things that don't belong in that time frame that I feel that I'm looking at. You know, when you look at, there shouldn't be rubber tractor tyres when you're looking at a pre-rubber civilization, you know. And then I start to wake up, and I'm all I know is that whilst I'm having this conversation and they're saying this is why we can't allow any technology, and this is why we have to keep things, we can't develop in that way, and we have to keep life simple and basic and honest, there is somebody else, because this is worldwide and you can't control everybody, there is somebody out there who is developing technology. And it's like I wake up knowing that somebody out there is creating stuff that is out of this, you know, timeline. Like, it's not this pre-Victorian, pre-Tudor, early days type thing. It's not, you know, they're like, they've got computer type stuff. And I just know the cycle's going to happen again, and I can't do anything about it. It's like it leaves me with this cliffhanger, like, you think everything's okay and right, we've solved the issue and this is how we're going to be okay. And, you know, the dead bodies have fertilized the earth, and we have this functioning society again. And then you're just left seeing this image of this person who's determined. And all I keep thinking of is those people that have technology are the people that are going to destroy everything, because they're going to create weapons and they're going to create things that will pollute the world, and then they're going to try and hold on to life, and that is going to lead to the situation we were in before. And then I wake up and it's like that cliffhanger of everything's fine, and then no, it's not. Right, that is 14 minutes of the most weirdest, bizarre explanation I can give you. And I need to go back to bed, and I need a wee. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but it had to get out of my head, and I had to share it while it was still fresh.